All right. Hi, friends. You doing okay? I'm not. I'm really not doing okay this week, even though I'm putting on this weird smile because, that's the appropriate response to everything. Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. Can't do it today. Won't do it today. Don't need to. This video is for my white homies and friends out there. Send it out there. Now, some of you who know me are like, wait, Kevin, your last name is Garcia. You're not white. You're just white passing. And you're right. I am white passing, but because I am white passing, that means I benefit from systems of white supremacy as well, baby. So, so we're doing our part. Let's recap real quick what's happened over the past couple weeks. Number one, found out about Ahmaud Arbery, who was shot while running in a Georgia neighborhood. That was like 3 months ago, and it was caught on film. And it was only after public pressure was put on the government to actually arrest them. Second, we found out about Breonna Taylor, who was an EMT. The cops broke into her house unannounced and opened fire on somebody related to an unrelated investigation, had nothing to do with her, and she ended up getting killed. And that happened 2 months ago. And the police department still hasn't, justice hasn't been found. And shortly after that, a man named Christopher Cooper was walking through the forest doing some bird watching in New York City when he told fellow human Amy Cooper, a white woman, hey, you gotta have your dog on a leash. And she called the police on him because she was scared and threatened by him asking her to obey the rules so that everyone could be safe. And I mean, based off of what we know, that could have easily gotten him killed. And then this past week, George Floyd, God rest his soul, was pinned to the ground by an officer who dug their knee into his back. He stated, I cannot breathe, and then later died in police custody, which has thus then sparked some nationwide protests all over the country, including in my lovely city of Atlanta. What I'm so shocked by is the number of my white friends who still just don't get it yet. And this is why I'm coming to you. This is for my white friends and white family. We got to talk about this because if you are not outraged, you're not paying attention. And I want you to pause for a second and take a deep breath. You're saying, well, I'm not a racist. Well, if you're not a racist, then listen. If you're not racist, I want you to calmly chill out and just listen to what's going on in this country right now. Just based on what we've been seeing this year and over the past few years, the violence that continues to happen to Black and brown bodies, it is on full display the amount of violence that comes against this community. The violence actually hasn't shifted at all. It's just now we're catching it on film. And this is a product of white supremacy and white privilege just allowing this shit to keep continuing. And then a lot of people get really triggered when I say white privilege and oh, I've had a hard life. I've had a life like everybody else. And yes. I'm not saying that your life has been easier because you have white skin. But what I'm saying is your life has not been any harder because you have white skin. So let's just, put that right there. White privilege is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And this isn't an issue of my opinion or the opinion of liberals out there. This is the opinion of history. So we have to look at which group of humans has had the greater burden over time. Our white ancestors historically were conquerors, right? They stole Black bodies from Africa, put them to work for, a few hundred years until, the Civil War. But then even after the Civil War, when slavery was abolished, there was still disenfranchisement. There was still racism that disallowed for Black communities to thrive. So they had to thrive on their own. And then there was redlining, and then there's Jim Crow. You tell somebody to this is an example that many people have said. You tell somebody to pull themselves up by their bootstraps when you stole their boots and now are standing on their neck with said boots. It's going to take a while for them to catch up. Think about it. Generational wealth is such a huge reason why so many Black families have been unable to to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, so to speak. Because when your entire culture has been kept down for literal centuries, of course they're not going to be in the same place as you. Again, not your fault. but just your responsibility. We have to start by recognizing it. So, white person watching this, don't be angry, don't get upset, and if you are, take a deep breath. I will totally own up to the fact that I benefit from white privilege. As a person with skin that looks like this, even if I do have a Mexican last name, I benefit from white privilege. I wonder how much of my success is based off the fact that I pass as a man and I pass as white. So I totally get it. And that is why I'm having this conversation with you, fellow white or white passing person, because sometimes we don't understand that like we have unwittingly been a part of the oppression of people that we claim to love. White privilege is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to acknowledge it. And then I would say in a just society to start leveraging your white privilege to keep Black people alive. Because George Floyd did not deserve to die. Breonna Taylor did not deserve to die. Ahmaud Arbery did not deserve to die. I think it's interesting that like white supremacy, like weekend warriors can show up and like take over a state house with AK-47s and they're fine. Good people, as the president might say. Or, you know, a white supremacist can run over a protester in Charlottesville and the president can call them good people. But when unarmed, or, you know, any other KKK rally that you can see around the country, the president will call them fine people. But when people are protesting the death of one of their people, an unarmed Black man, again, the president will call them thugs. The president is a thug. He's a neo-fascist thug. And people are just cheering him on. It's wild. Wild time. But like, can you see the difference now? Like, you know, a white supremacist can show up to a Black church in Charlottesville, shoot them all dead, and then get food and water. And yet a Black unarmed man can say, I can't breathe, and a police officer will merely dig their knee even deeper into their back. Like, there's a difference, baby. So let me just end with this. Like, if you are more mad about broken windows than broken necks, you got some self-examination to do. If you're more mad that people are setting fires to buildings or property, and you're not outraged about police not being held accountable for killing people, you have got some self-examination to do. If you're mad because all of this is like clogging up your feed and it makes you uncomfortable, and you're not mad about the epidemic of violence that's literally not just interrupting, but ending lives, actual lives, the lives of Black and brown folk, you've got some self-examination to do. And if you're watching this and you're like, you know what, I'm open to listening, I want to learn more, congratulations, you're nailing it. You're doing the right thing. Take a deep breath if you're still mad. Okay? You don't need to be mad. You just need to be cognizant. So here's some practical things that you can do right now to not just not be a racist, but to be actively anti-racist and work towards being someone who practices anti-racism. One, shut up and listen, okay? And what I mean by that is follow Black and POC and BIPOC names, leaders, both in your city and nationally. Read what they've written. Educate yourself on what the struggle has been thus far, and be okay with the fact that you're going to mess up. And when you do mess up and someone else calls you out on it, don't be defensive. Don't be saying, I'm an ally, you can't say that. No, what you say is, I'm sorry that I messed up. Tell me what I can do better. And if they don't want to educate you, it's fine. Just find out and do better next time. We're failing forward. We're always failing forward. It's okay to mess up. It's not okay to continue to be racist. Other things you can do, amplify voices of other POC, which means person of color if you didn't know that already. But amplify voices of people of color, both on Twitter, on your social timeline. Like, share an article by a Black Lives Matter leader on your Facebook. You really get the conversation going. And that's really what you need to be doing, is engaging in these conversations with your family, just saying, hey, do you see the difference here? Maybe we've been wrong. Maybe they do have something to say. Maybe there is an actual epidemic of violence that's killing Black people. It's not, like I said before, it is not enough to simply just not be a racist person. It's not enough just to have a Black friend. We have to actively interrogate our moods and our attitudes and our actions and ask whether or not we are capitulating to the power or if we are doing the work to dismantle the system that is killing the people we love, or at least the people we claim to love. I don't know if you love Black people, but if you do, you'll start doing this work. Will you get into fights with people? Probably. Will you make your aunties and uncles mad? Probably. Will it be uncomfortable? Absolutely. But yeah, it's just really like, what am I more uncomfortable with? Having discussions with my family or making content that talks overtly about white supremacy and what we can do to end systematic racism, or seeing more dead folks on the television. What's more uncomfortable for you? In the comments below, let me know. Would you rather be uncomfortable with the conversation or see more dead bodies on TV? I don't know. It's just me. I'd rather see more people living. Deep breaths, okay? Which feels ironic, isn't it? Woo, okay, listen, make sure you take your meds, call your therapist, move your body, eat something delicious. I'll see you soon.